Hello. Hello, people. How's it going? The hair. I'm getting hair. I'm not George Clooney. Anyway, I did some reading last week. Minor reading. I did some reading. Still plodding through my book on John James Audubon. What do you think? Claire, that was very nice. There we go. I got to know someone who would think Claire might be so bad. What are you going to do? This is a good book. So far, he's just beginning to get into his career becoming an artist and a naturalist. Good book. I like this book. I'm almost halfway done. It talks a lot also about some of his contemporaries, like Alexander Wilson, who died young. He he was doing what Audubon would slowly start doing, which is drawing the birds. It talks about his life, his marriage, his interactions, his up and down business ventures, his drawing, his favorite birds or ducks. It talks about owls. This book is very good about the natural history of early America. Well, when it becomes a country, anyway. This is a very good book. The War of 1812 is about to start. This is where I am in the book. The War of 1812 is about to begin. But I like this. It's a very good biography. I do have another one. I'll probably read that sometime. I do like this book. If you really want to learn about natural history of early America, those who were doing exploring, about at least two of the early pioneers of trying to draw and paint and make these animals look real on paper. Does a very good job of recording his life. He was an interesting guy. Well, he kind of overly focused on his hobby, his career. He tried to be a good family man. It didn't always work out that way. But it's an interesting book so far. The War of 1812 is the start that began. I'm still plodding through this book. I like the book. How to teach classics to your dog. I get that. There you go. Hopefully you can read that. There's the author's name. But I like mythology. I've always had, I like mythology. I have several books on mythology, all different forms of mythology. I probably like Norse mythology more than I like Greek or Roman. I kind of don't like Egyptian mythology too much, only because ancient aliens have ruined that subject. Everything to them is mythology, but it's really aliens. That's all you have to realize when you watch that show. Is they've turned every single thing of that is mythology into aliens. All mythology is aliens. All you have to know. By the time they're done telling me that they're aliens, I'm convinced that Zeus and Odin and Osiris were gods, not aliens. So this book is very good. I really am enjoying this book. I really am enjoying this book. We're now into Roman mythology. But it's cleverly written. He's talking to his dog. He literally is talking to his dog about mythology. I gotta figure out something to put that clear. If I could put something else here. But anyway, so this is a very good book. Very excellent. If you like mythology, you need to read this book. In fact, you better read this book. If you don't really like mythology, you don't read this book. No, I'm not being PC. But it is a very good book. It is a good book. I do like it. The other book I went through this last week, actually. It always says weekly reading report. We're actually recording it last week. But almost done with reading Alexander. He is slowly on his way back to Babylon after the Indian campaign. This book is very good. I do like Anthony Everett in his classical history books on Rome and on Alexander the Great. He is an excellent writer. Excellent writer, excellent subject. No glare now. Oh, God. Maybe the darker the cover, the less glare there is. But this is an excellent book. A lot of details in this book. I do mean a lot of details about him, the age he lived in, the different personalities he had to deal with. It doesn't always paint him in the best of light, But he really was not always a nice guy. Alex, I mean, Everett, I'm sure, is a nice guy. He's on his way back to Babylon. He's just got done with the Indian campaign. He had a mutiny on his hands. I think he finally realized, I think I'll just head back to Babylon. Excellent. Almost done. But it does a very good job of his life, his interactions with his father, with the Persians, his fellow Greeks, the battles. This is an excellent writer. Him and Goldsworthy, sorry. Goldsworthy is also another good writer. I'm reading his book on Caesar. That was taking. Anything else I read last week? Well, okay, I did take this on the bus with me, and I read a few pages of this book. I don't know if I have an opinion yet, but I did read a little bit of this book last week while on the bus. I have a collection of his short stories, which I do like. Interesting. I'm not sure I quite get it, but then again, I'm not going to get every single thing I read. Interesting so far. I'm not going to complain about it. But, everyone should read Herman Hesse at least once. Anyway, that's pretty much all I read last week. I didn't have a whole lot of time to do stuff. It really was one of those. March has been just a mess. March has been a mess. Bronchitis and hell. And yes, I know I need to clean that up. But anyway, that was my reading last week. Even if it does says weekly reading report. But yeah, I right now of the three that I'm reading that I just mentioned, probably this one I'm enjoying a little bit more. Just because I like the subject of natural history. I'm a bird watcher myself. I like birds. I like to observe them. I have a bird feeder right at my window right there. Also now lately, interesting birds are showing up. Blue jays and wrens and of course the sparrows. No cardinals yet though. No cardinals yet. I had a goldfinch. But of the three books I read last week, this one is probably taken up most of my time. I find him very interesting. Complicated man, a little obsessed with his subjects, with his hobby, which is slowly becoming less of a hobby. But it is a good book, and an excellent book. Highly recommended. 9 out of 10 Blue Jays say read it. Anyway, all right, thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I've got to do something about that glare. Hopefully it's going to. Behave yourselves, people. I'm not going to. See you later. See you later.